there's this burn, and it starts slowly, and you finally come to realize everything I'm doing produces what other people think I should be doing, but they don't provide fulfillment. I'm just not fulfilled. What's missing? How do I find that? And you have to go inside yourself to do that, which we talk about at length. So we sabotage ourselves in ways that don't connect, but we find a way to sabotage ourselves. I had the same thing when I played competitive tennis. When I was playing against a really high-ranked player and I was ahead in the match, I found a way to choke and lose the match. I wasn't good enough to beat a top-ranked player. We're more than we think we're capable of more. We can do more. It's true of almost everybody. We have to override our subconscious beliefs.
What would be your message to old Bill? If you had to speak to younger Bill now, what advice would you give him? You're in here. He's okay to park there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're in there. You can take whatever seat you want on the right. Thank you. Welcome back to Walk With Me Brother, and Happy New Year from us. Today, I'm sitting with someone whose story feels deeply connected to what this project is all about. Bill Leider is an accomplished author, executive advisor, and a thought leader in personal and professional reinvention. Over a career of spanning more than 40 years, Bill has served as a CEO of both publicly traded and privately held companies, advised Fortune 500 organizations and startups, and studied how neuroscience and psychology shape leadership, identity, and behavior. Bill is the author of What's Next, which we'll come to shortly, How to Make Your Next Chapter Your Best Chapter, a practical guide to reinvention rooted in science, experience, and truth. Bill helps people move beyond self-limiting beliefs, reconnect with purpose, and navigate transition without burning everything down. Today's episode is about those in-between seasons, when life looks good on paper, but internally something no longer fits, something that I can heavily relate to over the last couple of years. When the version of success you work towards stops feeling like success and the next chapter hasn't revealed itself yet. We're going to talk about recognizing misalignment before it becomes burnout, understanding the unconscious stories that keep us stuck, and how to approach change with intention instead of reaction. This today is a conversation about awareness before action, reinvention without destruction, and why transition isn't failure. It's often an invitation. Bill, thank you so much, my friend, for coming on today.
Thank you for having me. I was quite impressed with that introduction. I'm anxious to hear what I have to say.
I know. I spent some weekend researching you over the festive period and looking at that, and I was like, God, this guy is super. Like, I don't think you could. I just said to you off camera there, I don't think you could have come on today's episode at a better time, because it's a question I constantly ask myself, so I'm going to use today's episode as a resource more than anything, and I hope our listeners out there. First off, Bill, before we get into anything with all of our guests, I like to just get a better sense of who you are, where you come from, the early life, where you grew up, and what brought you here.
Sure. So, born in Chicago, May 10th, 1938.
Wow. You look great.
Moved to LA when I was 10 years old. Grew up in the city of LA for basically my whole life. Currently, I live in Manhattan Beach, California, paradise.
Yep.
And went to school locally, went to UCLA, graduated with a degree in accounting and marketing, went into first finance, and then I migrated to leadership. And I spent the bulk of my career in leadership in a variety of roles in companies as an advisor, served as a CEO, as you said, for a couple of publicly held companies, some private companies, a lot of entrepreneurial companies, in between startups and Fortune 500s. There were a lot of those companies. And we focused on strategic planning, cultural health, cultural diversity, leadership. And then, magically, I discovered my purpose, writing.
Wow. Thank you for watching Walk With Me Brother. We are a relatively new podcast. Without your support, without your help, we cannot grow. So please subscribe. Please give us a thumbs up. Please share our episodes. We've got every single week. We have entrepreneurs, doctors, veterans, people, experts within their field, all talking everything related to mental health. So if you haven't catched our previous episodes, go and watch them now. But follow us along and please support our amazing journey. How old were you when that happened?
Probably about 60.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah. Took a little while.
Yeah. So what was it that triggered that? What was
I realized, first of all, I loved writing. And I never saw it as my full-time occupation because I was always doing these other things, which we'll talk about more because I didn't have a plan. I focused on comfortable survival. Early childhood beliefs played out in my adult life, which we all do. That's very common. It's the way our brains are wired. And so I realized that I loved writing, and I came to believe that I could reach more people with what I had to say, what I thought was my gift to change lives. And I could reach many more people by writing than I could by consulting or advising. So I said, okay, from this day forward, I'm a writer.
So when did you write your first book?
2012.
And how long did that process take?
2 years.
Okay, wow. And did you, because they always say like everyone's got one book in them, right? But you've done 3.
Yeah.
So did you have an idea like what your first book was going to be? Did you have a kind of an inkling there?
Well, it was called Brand Illusions, and it was written as a fictional story of a company in transition looking for its brand, its identity. And so I developed the characters and told a fictional story about this company's journey. And at the end, of course, happy ending, they discovered their purpose.
Wow.
And they built a culture around it. So that was the first book. The second book was based more on my consulting activities. And we had my co-author was my partner in my consulting group, Axis Group, Jason Thompson. And so wrote Mastering Your Balance. And that was a process by which companies could discover the elements of balance, practice them, come into alignment, and begin to achieve goals beyond their imagination.
Wow.
And that led, based on my wife's inspiration, she said, your next book has to be about people. It can't be about companies because everything you say in the book you just wrote also applies to everyday lives of everyday people, and you need to address them. So I did, and you have it in front of you.
Yeah, awesome. So this one was written. When did you write this? Very recently?
Yeah, this came out in March or April of 2025. This year.
Okay, awesome. So are you? Obviously, I'm going to put the links below where you can purchase this from. Is this available online or?
Online, Amazon.
Okay.
So I'll put on my website, BillLeider.com.
Yeah.
Plug. And so it's right now. It's available in Kindle and paperback.
Perfect. So are you still consulting today, or are you kind of full time on writing?
I have a few remnants of consulting clients. But I focus full time on writing. That's what I want to do. I mean, I can. There's temptations to get drawn back into advising or coaching, which I don't want to do. I want to write.
Good man. All right. Well, I'm excited to read this. It's definitely on my on list of reads. I've got an Audible stack, but this is going to the top of that because, like I said, I think perfectly you've kind of come into my life in this episode today at the right time. So I've been stuck for years. I would say before I had kids, and since I've had kids, it's given me a more sense of purpose. I've kind of found my passions like this, but there's a lot of times, I'll ask this question of what's next. And, we were just talking there where I was grabbing my coffee about time and my biggest enemy is time. And
Sure.
one of the things you just said there was off camera was there's no such thing as when people say they don't have enough time. Much of your work begins when I was reading on your website and things like this. I noticed most of the work that you do is when people kind of everything looks good on the outside, but something's not quite right on the inside.
Yeah.
How do you notice that with?
Well, it's not an epiphany. It's a slow process. And, you look outward. What does society think you should be doing? What do your friends and family think you should be doing? What do your shareholders think you should be doing? And you do those because that's your job. And you've got all the trappings of material success. You've got the house, you've got the car, you've got maybe multiples. And somehow, the more you get, the less satisfied you are. How many houses can you live in at one time? How many watches can you wear at one time? How many cars can you drive at one time? So there's this burn, and it starts slowly. And you finally come to realize everything I'm doing produces what other people think I should be doing, but they don't provide fulfillment. I'm just not fulfilled. What's missing? How do I find that? And you have to go inside yourself to do that, which we talk about at length in the book. And I think, what differentiates this book, this is not a plug, it's just a reality.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a plug too. There are exercises in every chapter that help you discover what's missing. So when you come to this realization, you're focused but lost. You know that what you have is not what you need, but you don't know what you need. That's that in-between stage that you talked about.
Yeah.
That's a great place of discovery. People are often afraid of that, but it's really exciting. It's very exciting because you get to go on this journey of exploration to find out, who am I? And how did I become who I am? And there we get into the whole neuroscience of identity and the stories that manifest within us that are really born in our youth, our young ages, and they just take control. And you don't even know they're taking control. You just do what you were programmed to do. Now, here's the beauty and the magic of neuroscience. You can change your beliefs. But to do that, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. When did that belief become real within you? What triggered it? Who was there? Who told the stories?
Does it start slowly, or is it
slowly?
Yeah.
And it comes about through reflection. Reflection is magic.
Yeah.
But you have to allow the time to do that. And it's not linear. It's not like you sit down and say, okay, today I'm going to reflect. It doesn't work that way. Experiences will come up. You can be in the middle of doing something else. You could be washing your car, and all of a sudden you have a flashback to when you were 7 years old. It was already there. It was always there in your subconscious. And then you start reflecting on a particular belief that you have about yourself and about other people. And you say, how did that come about? Who told me that? So using myself as an example, horrible example, but when I was 7, I learned from dear old mom that I was not good enough to do anything. I should just keep my head down, obey orders, do what I'm told, try to get a good job. raise a family, and that's life. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And the best you can do is survive.
Mm.
Well, I didn't like that. But I lived with that unconsciously for 50 years.
Wow.
50.
Mm.
And then some things happened, caused me to reflect. And I said, I don't believe that. I can do more. I never had the confidence to do more. I always found a way, when I was on the edge of success, to sabotage myself, to do something to sabotage myself.
Why is that? Would you say that's like because of the risk, fear of failure? Because I hear that a lot.
Because of my self-limiting beliefs.
Okay. So you didn't think you could get to that level?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and when I approached it, I did something to sabotage myself. Now,
what would you normally do?
Okay, so you don't know what you're going to do because your subconscious dictates it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go on and on, but here's a classic example. When I was in high school, I was playing basketball, believe it or not. Had a good jump in those, good high jump in those days. And the last scrimmage before the season started, the coach made his final decision on the starting lineup, and he named me as the starting point guard. Mm-hmm. I was thrilled. Mm. So we scrimmaged, the very last scrimmage before the season started, I broke my ankle. Mm. I was out for the season. So I didn't think anything of it. I had an unfortunate accident. 30 years later, in a workshop, I told that story. And the workshop leader said, "So tell me, why did you decide to break your ankle?" I said, "What are you, crazy? Mm. Who would decide that?" She said, "Well, you did." Mm. Why? And I really I dismissed it. I didn't like her at that point. Mm. And I just went on about my life. And then I thought, she's right. So we sabotage ourselves in ways that don't connect. Mm-hmm. But we find a way to sabotage ourselves. I had the same thing when I played competitive tennis. Mm. When I was playing against a really high-ranked player and I was ahead in the match, I found a way to choke and lose the match.
Bottle it, yeah.
I wasn't good enough to beat a top-ranked player, I thought.
Yeah.
We do these kinds of things subconsciously, and the only way to discover that is through this process of reflection. Deep, deep, deep reflection takes place over years. And the truth reveals itself. And what's revealed, one of the big things that's revealed is that we're more than we think we are. Mm. We're capable of more.
Yep.
We can do more.
Totally agree with that. Yeah.
And it's true of almost everybody.
If you are struggling right now, or if you know somebody who is, please talk to somebody. Please reach out to someone. Talk to a friend or call a trusted helpline. In the US, you can reach the National Crisis and Helpline by texting and dialing 988. If you're outside the US, you can find help on findahelpline.com, and I will put all of that information in the description below. So please reach out to someone if you're struggling or if you know someone who is. I have that inner belief in myself that, and I don't know if this is because, like I said to you before, because I've come back from rock bottom and something, maybe now I'm a dad and I want to tell my kids, but I've done everything in my life the hard way. Always the hard way. I've never taken a conventional straight route. It's always been round there. But I had this kind of allergy the other day to my kid, my 4 or 5 year old, and I was trying to explain the most important thing in life is I want you to be happy. But you can do anything you want to do. If you want to be a president, if you want to go to the moon, you can do it. You're going to work your backside off. But if you really want something, and it's case study, and this is not just all this mindfulness and affirmations and all this, you can do it. You can set yourself a plan. And I live by that. And that's why I'm running across America next year, because I'm not a runner. I was just saying, I'm just not a runner. I hate running. But I'm going to do it to prove to people that you can do anything.
Yeah.
So why do you think people? Because I've ignored those kind of signals for years, and I'm sure you see that. You see this every day with people that you work with. Why does that happen? Why do we ignore these signals for all these years?
Because they take us out of our comfort zone.
Mm.
Our brains are wired with two instincts that have been with us for 300,000 years, unchanged. The avoidance of discomfort and instant gratification, satisfaction. Those originated in our brains as part of our survival mechanisms. If you stayed in your comfort zone, this is the birthplace of prejudice. People who don't look like us, think like us, believe like us, live like us. They're not part of our tribe.
Mm.
Be careful. They could be dangerous. That's where it started 300,000 years ago. Now, they weren't thinking about prejudice. They were thinking about survival.
Yeah. How do we survive?
Because then you woke up every morning and your only goal, you had two goals, survive and procreate.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
Survival of the species, procreation.
Mm-hmm.
And then it morphed and adapted as life became more complex. But it's that same fundamental belief that keeps us locked in our comfort zone. Our brains are lazy. They're conserving energy. It takes a lot more calories to think and reason than it does to just react emotionally.
Mm.
And those calories our brains like to store in reserve in case we need them for a crisis. Now that's fundamental neuroscience adapted to the 21st century. By the way, I've studied neuroscience for the last 15 years.
Well, that's going to be one of my questions. Yeah, I was going to say, you seem to know a lot about that neuroscience.
So when we have these beliefs, they don't yield to reason easily. We resist because we want to stay in our comfort zone. So we have to override, and that takes that's a heavy lift. Mm. Overriding your long-held beliefs. And the longer you've believed them, the harder it is to get rid of them. Now, there's a process called neuroplasticity.
Yep, I know
the
very
rewiring
well.
Of our brains.
Yep, I just underwent ketamine infusion therapy, which rewired that for me. So I've a new terminology that I'd never heard before 2025, and since learning about
neuroplasticity is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So we can, by using neuroplasticity, applying it, and everybody has it, mm-hmm. you rewire certain brain circuits to adapt to a new way of doing things. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, the current wiring shrinks. Mm-hmm. That little portion of the brain shrinks, so that eventually the new habit becomes the habit. It's now yours. You own it. Now, you still have to think about it. You only really have mastered it when you do it instinctively rather than through awareness. But you must stay aware, and occasionally we all fall off the wagon and revert to, a self-limiting belief that doesn't serve us well. And you recognize it, you get back on track, and you keep going. That's the thing, is keep going. Don't let one misstep derail the whole train.
Mm. So when people talk about neuroplasticity and rewiring the brain, without medical terms, just with you kind of coaching it, is there any exercises that you give to anybody to be able to do that?
That's a really important question. I think everybody has to come to terms with that on there because all of our experiences are unique. Mm. But reflection is universal. Mm-hmm. So as you reflect, and this is for everybody, as you reflect and as you go back in time, you have to look at it. You have to look at the situation in which you developed that belief or were given that belief, taught that belief by your parents or elders or, whether it's whoever was influential in your life, members of the church, school teachers, whoever. What were they thinking when they told you that? So in my case, my mother was tortured. And when she said, you can't do something, she did not say that to put me down or hurt me. She said it to protect me. Now, it doesn't sound like protection, but she didn't want me to face the same perils that she and her family faced. And her best way of communicating that was to help me avoid risk by not being too ambitious. When I was able to see it through those eyes, I forgave myself, I forgave my mother, and I felt a sense of freedom. There was a big load off my back. The power of forgiveness is incredible. And so once I was able to do that, then I could entertain new goals that I never dared have. And now I could say, yes, I can do that. And I thought back on my early career, and I said, oh my goodness, how many opportunities did I pass up because I thought I wasn't qualified or it was too much? I had a job offer, unrelated to anything I had ever done before. A recruiter offered me this job with a new film producer who was just making his mark in Hollywood. And he was going to be something someday. He wasn't there yet, but he was going to be that. And when he told me about the job, I said, well, I've never done that before. I was head of new product development for this up-and-coming film company. I said, I've never done new product development. Why are you even talking to me? He said, because you understand numbers. And that's part of new product development. It has to be profitable. We want you for that job. And I said, and it didn't pay as much as my current positions. So I didn't like it from that standpoint. He said, but look at the potential. I turned it down. The filmmaker's name is George Lucas.
I knew it was going to be, wow. When was that? Was that pre-Star Wars and all that kind of stuff? Yeah. Wow.
He was just making that first Star Wars film. And I thought, what did I do?
What was it that stops you kind of just, there's a kind of saying that kind of we have now, like fake it till you make it, or just, just to get your foot in the door, right? Especially in Hollywood, right? And I'm sure so why didn't you take that jump? What stopped you?
I wasn't good enough.
That was in your head.
I can't do that. I've never done that before. None of my academic training positioned me to do that. How would I possibly do that? I could have.
Do you think there's I've got a lot of friends, and to some extent, even some family, extended family members who are very comfortable and don't like to take risk because they're comfortable. They don't want to.
Yeah.
They sometimes, whereas me, and this is something that people say about me, and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but over the years, I used to think it was a bad thing. People used to say, oh, it's all right for you, you're wired differently. And I always thought that was a bit because of, my bipolar, and I was very kind of erratic. I'd have this idea one night in the middle of the night, and I'd get up and I'd start doing it. And people would say, it's all right for you, you're wired, you've got nothing. As you start to get married and have a family, I've become a little bit more cautious because you don't want to, It's one thing being out on the street on your own, but you don't want to. But I've got friends, and I sometimes people will come to me and ask me for advice, and I'll just say, go all in. Like, if you don't jump, the parachute's never going to open, right? Yeah. So do you think it's a big part of it is fear of risk taking with some people?
That's the ostensible explanation, fear of risk. Mm-hmm. But really, it's fear that you're not enough.
Okay, you don't think you can physically do it.
Yeah, I can't do that. What am I thinking that who do I think I am? And the answer is, you're whoever you want to be.
Exactly, yeah. I agree with that. So for those people watching right now, and I mean, if they're coming to you and you're your consultant from, or you're there's a friend coming to you, how would you, how would you? With me, I say, go all in. How would you word that with somebody? Like, what advice would you give?
Ask yourself, what would it take? What would it take for me to actually do that? And begin to unravel the answer to that question. That's a magic question. Magic in the sense that it is neuroscientifically profound. Because when you ask it, something incredible happens in your brain. Just those words, those exact words. You can't use different words. No pride of authorship. It's just the way the brain works. When you ask, what would it take? Your ego is quiet because it has nothing to do. Our egos, are protecting our self-image, our persona, our emotional safety. But when the ego has nothing to do, it's kind of like asking the ego to leave the room. And when your ego is out of the equation and you're free to imagine, you have no boundaries. And you can start to think some really crazy thoughts. Mm-hmm. And some of them are really crazy. You should ignore them. But, I will never play basketball in the NBA. That's just not in the cards.
Yeah.
But what emerges is a few nuggets. Mm. And you look at those and you say, well, wait a minute. I never thought about that before. I never imagined it before. But, if this happened and I got a little lucky here and this came about, by golly, it's possible.
Yeah.
And when it's possible, it becomes real. And when it's real, you can plan and you can achieve. And all of a sudden, you have achieved a goal that you never even imagined that you could do. Mm. In a business context, it works for individuals and it works for companies. Short version, when I was consulting and advising Oracle in the management services division, they got an edict from Larry Ellison, grow your business by 50% next year, 50. They had been growing at 25%, were profitable, and they were happy. He wasn't happy. He saw more opportunity. Didn't give any reason or rationale, just at 50%. And so the head of that division came to me and told me what was going on. And I said, and he told me all the reasons why they couldn't do it. They were already working 80 hours a week. Their senior managers were traveling 75% of the time. Morale was bad, and they were stuck. And that's the bad. Excuse me. That's the bad news. The good news is, he said, there's so much market opportunity. We could easily grow more than 50%. So we came up with a question: what would it take to grow the division by 100% next year?
Wow.
While simultaneously reducing hours worked and travel time by 25%. And of course, all 35 of his senior managers thought we were crazy. And then we knew we were onto something. When the whole world thinks you're crazy, you've got an idea.
Yeah.
So long story short, we spent 3 months uncovering, unmasking self-limiting beliefs, invalid assumptions, and put together a plan, and we did not grow 100%. We grew at 72%.
Wow.
The mandate was 50. We grew at 72. We never told Larry we had a 100% plan.
Yeah.
Everybody was ecstatic, which gave rise to my mantra: in order to achieve the improbable, we must first envision the impossible. Mm-hmm. And we did that, and it works. And it works every time.
Yeah. So you kind of come up with the question: what's it going to take to get there? Basically,
what would it take?
Yeah.
Precise words.
And it's a bit of reverse engineering from there.
They have a way of resonating, and those exact words have a way of resonating in our brains that causes the reactions that allow us to have this clean slate by which we can imagine anything, like a George Lucas film.
Mm-hmm. You learned your lesson from that. So most people, because I thought of a story then when you talk about the basketball. When I was 15, 16-ish, my dad really thought I could be a professional, we say football, you say
soccer player.
And there was something in me where I just knew I wasn't good enough. I was having trials against some guys who went on to play national team level for England and Wales and stuff like that. I just knew in my deep down, like, it's my dad talking. Because no one else had ever said, well, you're really good. I had to really work what I thought was my hardest to get to that point of, like, we called it county football. You would call it state football. So in England, we play for, like, you play for your school and your clubs, then you'll play for your district, and then you'll play for your county, your state. And I was at the point of playing for my county, my state. And that's about, as far as I could take it. And, there was scouts coming to watch, and I had a couple of scouts watching me, and my coach used to say to me, wear different colour shorts, you stand out more. I'm like, well, surely if I'm that good, like, so I just knew in my heart that I wasn't good enough. Is there a difference there? Like, looking back now, thinking about how I am today, could I have trained 4 or 5 hours more a day to get me better? Could I have become fitter, faster? Could I have jumped higher? Could I have ran, could I have studied more games on the player that I wanted to be? So maybe, I don't know, maybe I could have been, I don't know. But I guess I had a bit of talent. But it's funny that you say things like that. So most people believe change is blowing everything up. Like coming up, like for me, I always say to my wife every day, got an amazing idea. And she was like, oh, here we go again. What's next? So we're like, but you don't have to blow everything up like that, do you?
No, it's incremental. And you adapt. Now, one of the fears that people have, and it's hard to imagine this, but it's the fear of success. Mm-hmm. Because what happens if you succeed beyond your expectations is you have to give up certain things and certain people mm-hmm. that are keeping you stuck. Mm-hmm. Your best friends, maybe, are really not your best friends mm-hmm. because they don't want the best for you. They want the best for them. Mm. And the best for them is for you to stay in the clique, in the gang, mm-hmm. in the group, so that they don't want to lose you as a member. Mm. And deciding that those people no longer support your new level of accomplishment, of achievement, that's hard. It's painful. And if you give them up, who do you replace them with? Now you've got to go out and form new relationships, and you will. You don't know you will, but you will. Mm-hmm. Because when you operate at a different level, you emit a different energy. And in the universe, like energy attracts. So you will suddenly find that you are attracted to people and people are attracted to you that you never thought was possible before. I can't associate with those people. They're, out there. I'm not them, but you are. Mm. You have become them. And that's a growth plateau that you reach, and you master it, and you suddenly are living and interacting at a whole new level, and you have become a different person. Your persona has changed. And it happens in small steps. You don't consciously notice it's going on, but one day you wake up and you say, wow. Now, you may have not gotten any wealthier, or you may not have changed your position. A lot of things remain the same, but that part of you is different. And that part of you is different. And people see you differently because you project something that you didn't project before. Mm-hmm. It's magic.
Yeah.
It's magic.
So by the time this episode's going to air, we're going to be into that first week in January, New Year's resolutions. I'm going to do this. I'm going to change this. Here's my plan. I'm going to you know, you kind of, I always feel like this period of the year, you've got like the end of year reels with everything that I've done, which can be a bit overwhelming for people on social media when then you look at your life and you see all these, oh, I've been there, I've done this and that. And it can be, you know, and I always say to, you know, people who are close to me, like, don't look at those end of season reels because you're missing, that's a 1 minute reel. What you can't do anything to change that past, but this time of year now, we're going into all these resolutions. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to make more money. So you must have heard hundreds of stories about this time of years. And your work is, you focus on vision, values, and purpose. So what would you say to someone watching this today who've got all these big plans for 2026 and how to not fall off the path?
Forget them.
All right, done.
Now, think about, what am I going to do next year? What am I going to do next month, next week to discover and advance myself in pursuing my greater purpose? Everything else is a distraction. You know, it's usually based on achievements. I mean, gyms and health clubs love.
They love it. Yeah.
New Year's. People sign up for lifetime memberships.
Yeah, and
after 3 months, they're gone.
Dunzo.
And
they'll find
meantime,
an excuse why not to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we said it off camera, I don't have enough time. That'll be the excuse.
You know, I used to train at Gold's Gym in Venice, the Mecca.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I trained with a lot, you know, I trained with a lot of bodybuilders. I was never a bodybuilder. I trained for tennis. But they had a sign on the front door that said, getting here is half the battle. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, getting out of bed, I don't like to work out. I never enjoyed it, but I enjoyed the results. Mm-hmm. I worked out for the results, not for the pleasure of working out. Now, when you focus on your greater purpose, things that don't contribute to that fade away. You're not distracted by them. They come into your consciousness and you dismiss them because they're not serving you. They're distracting you. They're preventing you. So what sounds like a good resolution is actually keeping you stuck. So examine them very closely. And what you finally land on, no more than 3.
I was going to ask.
Never more than 3.
I was going to ask you the next question. How many? What's the?
Yeah, 3. And there's a neuroscientific reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all your prefrontal cortex, the reasoning part of your brain, can handle.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Actually, our brains were designed to do one at a time. Now, given the complexities of modern life and all that stuff, we feel like we have to have more than one on the table. So our prefrontal cortex can handle up to 3. If you put a 4th on, it all blows up and you wind up achieving nothing.
0, yeah.
So 1 is perfect. 2, okay. But, you know, you're never going to be as sharp with 2 as you will with 1 because you're going to be temporarily distracted and you'll miss something. 3, really stretching it. That's it. That's why there's no such thing as multitasking. I mean, it's a myth that you can do 3 things at one time and they're all great, because they're not. You're going to miss something. It happens in companies all the time. They overload people with objectives. Mm-hmm. You overload yourself with objectives. You know, I want to be this for my friends. I want to do this for my family. I want to do this at work. I want to do this for my pleasure. And I've got 7 things I have to do. Forget it.
Yeah. It's funny because I think this is the first year ever, because I've been one of those people that I've wrote my whole list. I've got notes of like 86 point checklist of how to be a better. This year, my only goal is to service others.
Good.
Because I've got, and I wrote on my social media the other day, I've got everything I ever wanted in my life right now. I've got my kids, got my wife, I'm happy. I want to be sitting here this time in we're still in 2025 right now, but 2026, and I've saved somebody from committing suicide. One person. That's it. And I've got to run across America to do that, for them to see it and hear my story. I've done my job. That's all. If that doesn't happen, or if I don't get that, have I done enough? Well, I think the steps I'm taking, but I said personal goals, I don't really have any anymore, because I've got everything I wanted. And, I think we could always want more money and more bigger house and all those things. But to me, they're not things that we actually own anyway. We're just renting them.
Yep.
Even the clothes,
absolutely.
Even the clothes I'm wearing now, they're
Yep.
just rented.
Yep.
So all I want really now, and as I'm getting older and maybe a bit more wiser and, just loving being a father, is just, I will always ask for a bit more time with my kids. That's it really. And just to keep in that moment. But yeah, I think realistically, so 3 goals maximum, resolutions, whatever you want to call them. 2 is but 1 is a...
And all of those goals should be aligned with your values,
your vision,
and your greater purpose. And
yeah.
when those things are aligned, life gets really easy.
If values and vision drift, does that happen? Is that something that... Because what you might value and your vision might be going that way, and then your values might be staying here. So
then you're out of alignment.
Okay.
You have to sit down and say, okay, what happened? How did we drift? How did I drift? What was if I wasn't paying attention to this, what was I doing instead? And what do I do to correct that? Now, in the case of values, sometimes we have values that don't really serve us, but they're values because, we were taught that way. Some of our values are spiritual, religious. They were given to us by the church, temple, mosque, whatever. And those are our moral values. But some people believe that only moral values are values. That's not true. Values are also unconditional beliefs. This is how I'm going to act. This is how I'm going to face the world. This is what I want this is the way I want people to see me, for who I am and what's important to me. And they're authentic. They reflect who I truly am, not who I think I should be to please others. This is me. And when you have values aligned with that, together with your moral values, you've got something. You've got something. And you can look at the decisions you're making or about to make and say, do these align with my values? Am I doing something that aligns with my values? And if I'm not, why am I doing that?
Yeah.
They don't serve me. There must be some reason. They're a distraction.
So knowing what you know now, after all these years and obviously research and working with all these companies, and if you speak to old Bill, who was kind of stuck and asking what's next, is this the life that... And there's going to be a lot of people watching this who do ask that, certainly around this time of year. What would be your message to old Bill back then? Like, if you had to speak to younger Bill now, what advice would you give him? Sorry to put you on the spot there.
That's nobody's ever asked me that question.
Oh, really? All the things that you kind of practice now, because obviously it's...
I would say, believe in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Just believe in yourself. And start looking for your purpose as early in life as possible.
That's good advice.
And we see people like that who found their calling when they're teenagers, musicians, dancers, actors. They found their calling at that age. The poet, the poet laureate of the United States, Amanda Burns, I think. She gave the address at Biden's inauguration. She was 20 years old.
Wow.
She's an old soul.
Yeah. When you were 60 when you found yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was 42 when I found mine's somewhat evolved. And I asked my therapist constantly, my wife, my friend, what am I here for? Like, what was my purpose? I just constantly, it was just, you become so irritated. But then I became a father and I suddenly found my purpose in this world. But that purpose has now put me in a place of wanting to be a better human for him and since my daughter. But I feel like my purpose was initially to be a father. That was what. But now I've got a bigger purpose of helping maybe someone out there have a father this time next year. So saving somebody from where I've been. So I think I don't necessarily think that everybody's purpose in life is to be a father, or every purpose is. It's just I think how every story is unique. But I ask myself that question all the time, just day and night. What am I here for? Why is my purpose? What?
Yeah.
And it took a miracle of having another human being, and I probably didn't know it straight away when I saw I didn't have this kind of like epiphany as soon as I saw my son and like aha and all that music stuff. But it was something that as the days grow. So yeah, I think you were 60, you found the writing. But I think sometimes it just hits you without even realizing, right?
Correct. And let me comment. One comment on you said if I can save one person, you can't. You can help them save themselves.
Yeah.
You don't have the power to save anybody, unless you're God.
Yeah, I certainly didn't word that right, but I definitely think make them see, maybe make them understand that there is another way out.
Yeah,
there's a better way out.
Yeah,
Trust me.
You can guide them.
Yeah, guide them.
They have to do the heavy lifting.
They do, and it's not pleasant. It's not easy, but I definitely feel like. Yeah, so I thank you for your words, Bill. I mean, honestly, I could sit here all day. I'm definitely going to read this. I think, like I say, you've come into my life at the perfect time. Just quickly before, what kind of season of life are you in right now? And where are you at right now?
Well, chronologically, people ask me how old I am, and I used to kind of shy away from telling people. I wasn't hiding it. I just didn't want to advertise it because there's a lot of ageism going on in this world. And what I'm finding is that among younger people, 20s, 30s, 40s, they want the wisdom that they don't get from their peers. And the reason that you don't get wisdom at that age is you haven't had enough experiences. Yeah. So being wise is just having more in the database, in the hippocampus area of your brain, and the amygdala, the emotional memory, and being able to tap into it by thinking metaphorically. So suddenly I'm wise. And young people want that. And we're finding as we go forth into the world that young people want to hear, because I'm this age, not in spite of it, because of it.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm no longer hiding it.
Good.
I'm 87. That's it.
That's awesome.
Now, mentally, I'm about 50.
Perfect.
So I'm two ages. Our bodies won't live forever.
You look great. I mean, you look superb for an 80. I mean, my dad's 83, and he looks great. So good for you for doing what you're doing.
Well, thanks to my wife, who not only inspired this book, but directs our personal eating habits, sleeping habits. I mean, we eat right, we sleep right. We do things to preserve and keep vibrant. There's a difference between living and existing.
Yep, agree.
So
that's one thing I don't ever want to be is just existing, for sure.
A lot of people do.
I know. The best. Someone said to me, "What's the best thing?" What was it? They asked me, "Best thing I've ever done, or the best decision I've ever made, was it to come to America?" I went, "No, are you crazy?" I says, "Marry my wife."
Me too.
Yeah, I said hands down. Like it was just,
Yeah.
It's 1,000,000,000% was the best decision.
There's a whole subject that we haven't talked about, and that's vulnerability, and we're out of time.
Yeah.
But if I had not become vulnerable, my wife and I would never have been attracted to each other. It was becoming vulnerable that enabled me to be attracted to her because she's a very strong woman. And I was never attracted to strong women. They intimidated me. I thought, she's, an arrogant so-and-so. No, she's not. She's just strong.
Yeah.
And you can't handle it.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Bill, for your time today.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it.
This conversation has reminded me personally, and hopefully others out there, that transition isn't failure. Reinvention doesn't require destruction. It begins with awareness, honesty, and to courage to ask yourself better questions. And what were those three? Remind us again the questions that you got to ask yourself.
What would it take?
What would it take? That's all you got to ask yourself.
What would it take?
Your work shows us the next chapter isn't something to fear. It's something to step into with clarity, integrity, and purpose. And that's what everything that I'm trying to do is what we're all about. So I appreciate you so much for coming down and spending time with me and learning. I just feel like you're going to be somebody that I will hopefully speak to again and again. But thank you, Bill. I'm going to read this book. I advise everyone else to do the same. And do you have anything else upcoming for 2026? Any more books on the horizon?
Not at the moment. There's possibly a workbook to accompany this. I've got some thoughts on a couple of other things, but right now we're focused on getting the word out. My goal, my mantra is to change people's lives through my writing.
Love it. And how to make your next chapter your best chapter.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, Bill. Thank you, my friend.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.